Well, look, we are hearing from Taiwanese officials that she is expected to spend the night there, at least overnight. However, it is not confirmed in her official itinerary. We know that Nancy Pelosi is walking a very narrow tightrope with this trip to Asia. She would be the first Speaker of the House to visit Taiwan in 25 years after former Republican Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, visited the country. However, obviously, U.S.-China relations are at an all-time low. China threatening to retaliate. But I think one thing international viewers need to understand is she is not going there in the capacity of visiting, of representing the Biden administration, I should say. She is going there as a major leader in the U.S. legislature, two different branches of government. Still, she is representing the United States. So we know the Biden administration has been watching this closely, but definitely a difficult situation for her as she tries to very much navigate these very tumultuous waters in Asia.
And, you know, you're right, Julia, she isn't representing the White House, but China doesn't necessarily make that distinction given her seniority. And the White House has sort of made it very clear to her of the sensitivity right at this point in time.
Absolutely. China is not making that distinction. And, you know, I think it's fair for most foreigners looking in on the U.S. perspective to say, look, she is representing the U.S. government no matter what. And she's absolutely is. However, there isn't necessarily coordination with the Biden administration. In fact, I think the Biden administration, after President Biden's call with Chinese President Xi Jinping last week, is wanting to tread very carefully. Xi Jinping very much warning Joe Biden to not play with fire here. So definitely a difficult situation.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this new political party that has emerged. Who's behind it and what are they hoping to achieve?
Yeah, so you have former Democratic presidential nominee Andrew Yang co-chairing the new party, as well as former New Jersey governor, who's a Republican, Christine Todd Whitman. So you have this Republican and Democrat very much trying to create this alternative to the two-party system in the United States. Now, of course, we have had third parties before. Occasionally you hear about the Green Party. They made the most headlines back in 2000 when it was thought they could have, maybe taken away some votes from presidential nominee Al Gore and given them to Republican nominee and later President George W. Bush. And I think that's a lot of concern people have right now. Could this party take votes away from Democrats because they are, pretty much more moderate, this new party, than the Republican Party, maybe give them to Republicans not directly meaning to. So, in terms of whether this will have an impact, look, the majority of Americans, even though there definitely is a middle section of this country that isn't a part of the Democratic or Republican Party, they lean to the left or the right. So we don't really know how this is going to play out.
Yeah. And, to your point too, is what chance does it stand of really seriously disrupting the current two-party sort of stranglehold, even though we know that a lot of people are disillusioned with both the Republicans and the Democrats?
I think it's going to take some time until we know. I mean, they will need to get funded and be well funded. And right now, the Republican and Democratic parties, have billions of dollars in their war chest. It's going to take them a while to, get to that level. And I will say, I don't think the coverage of the Forward Party, we've heard about it in the United States, but it's not, a big political shakeup at the moment. But I will say this, if you look at a lot of recent polls, there is discontent across the board. And, we see that Republicans, Democrats, and independents have very much signaled that they aren't on board with a Joe Biden, Donald Trump 2024 rematch. So I think there definitely is a search for an alternative, but isn't it an alternative within the two-party system? Or a third party, we'll have to see.
Yeah. Joe Biden is under a lot of pressure at the polls as he battles another bout of COVID. He's had quite a big win, though, with Joe Manchin's change of heart on his very big climate legislation. This could be a very significant policy platform for Biden.
Absolutely. And we know that going into the midterms, the Biden administration and Democrats have been looking for another initiative to pass this year. They haven't really passed that much. There was obviously that bipartisan gun control legislation earlier in the summer, the infrastructure package, the American Rescue Plan from last year. But they need something recent, something that's going to impact the American economy for the better. And Joe Manchin very much gave him that win. However, they're not out of the woods yet. They need to get Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema, another Democratic senator who, like Manchin, definitely likes to part ways with her party at times. So we have Republicans and Democrats lobbying her on to pass or not to pass this legislation. We'll have to see where she goes. Right now, her office is saying she's still looking over the legislation and not giving too much of a hint as to what direction she'll go in.
Yes, but, you know, climate change, of course, was a very big policy platform for Joe Biden. It's a big one for our incoming new government. Our Prime Minister did a wide-ranging interview on CNN. Has his election sparked any real political interest in the US?
Yeah, I think there's always political interest in Washington whenever there is a world leader. I think initially when he was elected, I believe earlier this year or last year, Americans were paying attention somewhat. And we see the same thing in the UK with the race to be, for the new party leadership and therefore prime minister in that country. So, I think a lot of administrations are oftentimes, U.S. administrations are oftentimes influenced in a way by our Western allies, whether it's Australia or the UK. So it's definitely something we're paying attention to. It seems like Joe Biden, like the leader in Australia, are very much on the same page when it comes to climate change. But of course, here in the United States, it seems that there are a few more roadblocks that have to be scaled.